Hey, sixth grade band. I got quite a few questions about the eighth notes, and so I just kind of wanted to break it down for you a little bit and just kind of help out with the understanding of those rhythms. So I'm in the band room. I'm going to be using the screen behind me so we can kind of break some stuff down, and I want to do a little bit of review. When we first started talking about rhythms, like first semester, okay, we did our rhythm tree, where we started out with a whole note and we split it into half notes, and then we split that again into quarter notes. This is just quick review, but if we're in 4/4 time, which means there's 4 beats per measure, and a quarter note, which looks like this, gets one of those beats. Okay, when we did our previous rhythms 1 through 12, we said that this whole note, which gets 4 beats, is 1-2-3-4. We put the dashes in between to show that when the air stops, when the note starts, the air doesn't stop. Ta, or 1, 2, 3, 4. It keeps going. You only articulate at the beginning of a whole note, and then you sustain all the way to the release. When we split those in half, of course, we got 1-2, 3-4. 2 half notes would fit in that same measure. Ta, ta, or 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then we broke that down further and split those half notes into 2 bits. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. And that would be 4 tongues. Ta, 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 or there's 4 strikes on a xylophone or whatever you're playing, but you've got 4 distinct starts, sustain, and releases in that measure. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take those quarter notes that we had, and we're going to break those again down into 2 more bits. So each beat itself can be divided into 2 parts. We call these eighth notes. When you write eighth notes, okay, just like here, you follow the left leg for things to keep the numbers in order, okay? So along the left leg of the eighth note, the first eighth note in any pair that you have is still going to retain the number, the actual beat number that you want, okay? And after that, we call the second eighth note and. Doesn't matter which beat it falls on, we're going to call it and. And so we can fit it all in when we write stuff. We're going to use a plus sign. Okay? So if this measure right here, if we're counting and clapping, 1, 2, 3, 4, this measure of eighth notes would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. They're not faster. The pulse of the music stays the same. It's just divided into different starts or articulations. So this line right here would be ta, 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 right? And this one would be T, 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 T. So we're going to tongue more often, but the tempo doesn't change just because the notes have a beam across the top to connect them. So that's eighth notes in the rhythm tree and how that all kind of fits together to add one more layer to the rhythm tree that you did at the beginning of the year. Okay? I'm going to erase this now because I'm going to move on to your Essential Elements book, page 42. Okay, this is your rhythm studies on page 42 of the yellow book. I've just scanned it into the computer so that I can kind of talk to you about that today. We have already done lines, measures 1 through 12 here, so you're all set through those. And now we're going to take a look at the next couple of lines that have eighth notes in them. Okay, so this is 13 in your book, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to look just at measure 13 there. Not what I wanted to do, guys. Sorry about that. Well, I didn't think this through super great, so I'm just going to move my camera. There we go. Okay, so this is measure 13 in your yellow book, okay? And we took a look at 13 before, or quarter note measures before. This quarter note, because we're in 4/4 time and there are 4 beats per measure, this quarter note right here, we always start counting with 1. So that's 1. Okay? And then the next beat would then be 2, because a quarter note takes up that entire beat. Okay? Beat 2. And to continue on with the eighth notes, and we can tell they're eighth notes because up at the top here we have this beam that connects everybody. Okay? So just like our rhythm tree, this is beat 3 and 4 and. Alright? Some students looked at me in class and said, Mrs. Carwile, I see 6 different note heads or 6 different symbols. Okay? Well, yes, but this is all of beat 1. This is all of beat 2. This is all of beat 3. And this is all of beat 4. So the symbols that you see here fill up each box of time. And then it lets you play rhythms that have notes that are maybe twice as fast or not as fast. Okay? 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. So when we count and clap that measure, excuse me, we would go 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. Okay, I'll do that again. We would go 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. We keep the steady rhythm, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. Okay? So that's how we break down eighth note measures by themselves. So if I were to continue that same idea into number 14 on the page, the rhythm really doesn't change that much because the bar line happened, and I sort of wrote over it in blue, but you can see the bar line here, and we come into measure 14. We start over with the counting. So this is 1. Okay? This is 2. Because it is a quarter rest, we know that we have to write parentheses around that number. 2, 3, and 4, and. The measure finished out the same way. Moving on to measure 15. See the bar line here, so after the bar line you have to start over again on beat 1. 1 in parentheses because this symbol is a quarter rest. Beat 2, and then we have our 4 eighth notes again. 3 and 4 and. In measure 16, bar line here, so we know we're starting over with number 1. We start with eighth notes instead. No big deal. 1 and 2 and. Beat 3 is that quarter rest, so we put it in parentheses, and then beat 4. So if we were to count and clap measure 14 here, starting in measure 14 at the beginning, we count it 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. Measure 15, we start with the rest, so our hands are apart to show we're not tonguing or making sound through the instrument. So 15 goes 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. 16, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Okay? So in class, we are counting and clapping to different songs. We've been Rickrolled with Rick Astley, and we've been counting and clapping to him. We've also been using the recordings that come along with your Essential Elements book to count and clap with those. So you can do this with your favorite song no matter what it is. Most of the music that you're listening to is in 4/4 time, which means the strong beat is going to be on the very first beat. If it's in a different time signature, you'll be able to tell pretty quick, and you might need to pick a different favorite song. So start slow, but I'm going to back out just a little bit. I want you to count and clap with me all the way from measure 13 through measure 16. Okay? The first time we do this, I'm going to show you where the beats are and count with you. The second time, I will count and clap with you. Okay? So here we go. Right on measure 13. Hands ready? 1, 2, start at 13, go. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. When we get here in 15 and 16, what happens with most middle school musicians is that we try to rush because there are 8 eighth notes back to back, and we think, oh, it must be super fast. It's not super fast. We just do 2 for every toe tap, okay? So you got to be careful here that you don't try to go too fast. Now what I'd like to do is count and clap with you, starting on 13 and going through 16. Ready? Here we go. Hands are ready. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So please count and clap that several times. You may have to back up the video to do it along until you get comfortable with the tempo and you don't go too fast on your eighth notes. So that's it for eighth note lesson 1, measures 13 through 15.